All right, I'm going to talk to you guys about something. So I'm going to talk to you about lifting weights and how important it is to lift them properly. I would just say this. I kind of titled this "Training Hard Without Training Stupid," which could be a little condescending, but I don't mean it to be. But really, here's what I'm going to talk to you about. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make in the gym, especially as they age, okay, is the retro thing where you go back and say, well, in high school, I did this. Well, high school was 40 years ago. You're not going to do that again, okay? Because I'll hear those things when people come into the gym. But training hard and lifting heavy are two totally different things. As you age, here's what happens. Here's the simplest way to look at it. You lose energy, okay? So you have a limited amount of energy that you can use. So what you want to do is you want to use it wisely, okay? So here's what I mean by that. The goal when you're lifting weights, okay? The goal of working out is to actually build muscle. It's not to exhaust your body in every other way, it's to actually build muscle. So what we want to do, we want to stimulate muscle. That is really, really important. And so training heavy is different, in my opinion, than training hard. Training hard is where I get a moderately heavy load and then I use that load to stimulate muscle. I think it's really, really important. So it's really the thought process is, how much can I make the muscles work while still controlling the weight? Not just lifting weights randomly, but feeling the movements actually happen. Trying to make things actually happen and feel what's happening. So you don't necessarily always have to add weight, because in my original personal training certification, one of them was the IRT that I studied. And one of the principles was this. It was called the principle of diminishing returns. And here's what that meant. A lot of times we do what's called double progression. So you shoot for like 8 to 12 reps and you'll have a certain amount of weight. When you reach that 12 reps, then you add like 5%, and then you shoot for 8 to 12 reps. When you reach 12, you add a little more weight. And that works. It really does. It especially works early on. But it only works to a degree, because after a certain point, you can only get so strong. Strength is finite. It's not infinite. And so you can only get so strong. That's why these big group classes that you see everywhere, that's just a general program. It's not individualized, because not only is there the principle of diminishing returns, meaning when you lift such a heavy weight, you put more stress on your joints than you do your muscles. And that is a diminishing return thing. It causes joint issues. So you want to stay focused on the muscles. But there's also the principle of individualism. And so I like to train people one-on-one, not in group settings, because people need that individual attention. And so you don't just go in to say, we're going to train for an hour because there's a group session that lasts for an hour. It's just not individualized. That's why personal training is personal, okay? So as you're thinking about lifting weights, what you want to do is you want to get to a point, like let's say you can do 10 reps with 100 pounds in the curl, but it's kind of a challenge. Stay at that 100 pounds until you can control that weight on the way up. On the way down, you get good squeezes, and then maybe add a little bit of weight. So learn how to lift weights, and I think that's really, really important. Hopefully that makes sense and helps a little bit. Have a great day.